who work with people's bodies: hairdressers, beauticians, massage therapists. What is the most disgusting, weirdest thing you have ever seen on a customer's body? Mold in people's hair. Some people do not wash their hair very often. The problem is when they have a weave and it gets wet and never fully dries. I washed this girl's hair who hadn't shampooed it in a month. The smell was horrible. Also, taking out weaves that have been in for a while involves a very specific bad smell. A nurse here had a 700-pound woman come in with a broken femur. She had wet the bed, and when we went to clean her up, she had this stuff encrusted all over her crotch, thighs, and folds. It looked like if you were to cut up wet cardboard into confetti-sized pieces. In addition to the typical beige fungus that grows in the folds of very large people who cannot clean themselves, nor have someone taking care of them. She smelled like a mix of sweat, rotting fish, and cat piss. It actually stung my eyes. Myself and the tech had to step away from the job for a few minutes to gather ourselves. The radiologist tech here. The smell of a rotting diabetic foot is literally the worst smell I've ever experienced. As a nursing student, I totally second this statement. That rotting human flesh smell just stays in your nose for hours and hours after you've moved on. It's the same with burnt flesh. Your nose just struggles to handle it every time. Pathologist here. I have dealt with every excretion the human body is capable of producing. And the worst was a stool sample that was literally crawling with pinworms. I worked at my aunt's hairdressers from 14 to 17 years old. Almost every customer was an old woman regular. Basically, they came in the same time every Saturday. I was washing someone's hair, and every time my hand touched it, a clump would just fall out. I didn't know what to do. She was in to get a perm, but by the time she sat down, that was physically impossible. She was essentially bald. Massage therapist here. So many things. 2 months ago, one of my clients had a small tail. It was a couple's massage, and it was pretty hard to stay mature about it and not want to get in for a closer peek. A couple of months ago, I massaged a man with a cyst on his back, and it ruptured all over my forearm as I steamrolled through his back. The smell was somewhere around death and rotten cheese. I have a semi-regular client who has so much hair on his body and wants such deep pressure that no matter how much oil or lotion I use, it always gives me rug burn, and I have even found his hair in my mouth and on my face. Bodies are weird. Removing 10 boat fly larvae from a man's scrotum. I was working at a mission clinic. I'm not a doctor, I was just helping, holding this, grabbing gauze, etc. We would have to remove some butt fly larvae from people every now and then. That wasn't that bad until a family brought their father in. He was in his late 60s and was in the early stages of dementia. The family told us he had started wandering off recently, and when they would find him, he would always be naked, he said. He just wanted to be naked, like it was nothing. So the family explained that he wasn't feeling well, and they found him in the woods again, and that's when they saw his really swollen sack. They brought him in, and there he sits. It was pretty gross, but also really cool. They have these little hooks that make it really hard to just pull them out. The doctor numbed him up and just started to take them all out. Personal trainer here finding out that you're training a person who has a butt plug in while they're doing front squats as well. Interesting. Body piercer here. The only thing I've seen so far after 3 years in my line of work was a girl with warts all over her junk. She had them literally everywhere, on her vagina, on her butthole, all over her legs and butt cheeks. I just couldn't understand how she would let it get that out on control. There are things out there to help control or get rid of warts, but this girl seemed like she just didn't care. My mother is a dentist. Several years ago, she told me of a patient who had a black hairy tongue due to their long history of smoking and poor dental hygiene. I was once a nurse's aide at a nursing home. We had a new guy come in with dementia, so he had an alarm on his bed because he was a fall risk. Anyway, I had just gotten on, and we were finishing report when his alarm goes off, so my and my partner go running to his room. We get there and find him standing up with his back towards us with nothing but a hospital gown on. We ask him to please sit down, and he starts cussing us out because apparently he had stood up to pee in his urinal container. So we offer to help him. Now it was 6 morning and still pretty dark, so we didn't notice until we got closer to him that he had 2 round dark spots, one on each butt cheek. My partner and I looked closer to make sure they weren't bruises or something, and no surprise they were eyeballs. The man had eyeballs tattooed, one on each butt cheek. We laughed pretty hard about that one, but never got a clear story about why he had them, because like I said, he had dementia. I had to do pedicures when I was in beauty school, and there were so many old ladies who came in and had toe fungus and couldn't reach their toes to cut their nails, so we had to do it. It looked like cottage cheese stuck between their toes and nails, and sometimes it was just impossible to trim and make them look nice. I remember chunks of fungus flying out when I scraped their toes and it landed on my face and hair. We couldn't turn them down, and I swear they knew that. So they took advantage of it. They should have just seen a doctor instead of having some poor girl scrub their disgusting feet. When I was a kid, the hairdresser in my hometown told me she gave free haircuts to some of the elderly and indigenous people, and once found a spider nest in an Aboriginal man's hair. I hope she was exaggerating, but you never know. Doctor, maggot infestation in chronic leg wounds. Senile husband sitting bedside in resuscitations reading the newspaper unaware of the sight or smell. Patient was wrapping wounds in old newspapers mindlessly. The smell of maggots and rotting flesh is unforgettable, unmatched. Registered nurse here. I have so many, but this one story makes everyone throw up in their mouths a little. So I was walking my friend through a male Foley catheter insertion on a pretty unwell guy. She's all prepped up and ready with sterile gloves. It's my job to retract the penis foreskin and hold it up. I peel back the foreskin and all this smegma just flakes out. It's everywhere. Disgusting, smelly blobs of the stuff all over the head and underside of his penis. We spent about 10 minutes cleaning it all off before we could actually count the penis as clean. You could smell it from a foot away. This was a 60-plus-year-old, uncircumcised man with like 4 adult children who had no idea about cleaning his penis. Hairdresser, like the rest I've seen, horrible dandruff. A guy who had palm-sized sheets of scaly scabs all over his head, chunks of dirt, glue, and even lice. But the one that gives me the most icks was this one chick. You know those raised, flesh-colored, tiny cauliflower-style moles some people get. Her entire scalp, all of it, was covered in those things. Like all of it. It was like shampooing a furry, squishy cauliflower Nerf ball. I am a massage therapist. I made the mistake of massaging an extremely heavy smoker. The wax I was using turned black. I'm a registered nurse. I had a diabetic patient with gangrene of the penis and scrotum. The groin area was swollen, purulent, and extremely necrotic. While the doctor was examining the patient, the blackened dead penis fell off and rolled onto the ground. Pressure ulcers, when left for too long, will leave large gaping holes in the place of contact. I was helping the nurse with one of my residents so she could repack one of the wounds. And I swear it was like a magic trick. At least 5 feet of bloody, pus-drenched gauze was pulled out of this woman's back. Nasty stuff. Tattoo artist here. Lady comes in and wants her foot tattooed. Infinity symbol. Why are these popular? With kids' names. Okay, whatever, cool. Go draw it up. She loves it. Get set up to do it. She takes off her sock to reveal what can't really be put into effective enough words. But I would say is best described as Smog's claw marinated in a stagnant sewer pit for a decade. Like this lady's foot, had 3 4-inch sharp yellow talons protruding from her blackened flesh-white woman. Just severe amount of non-washing, and it all reeked, as if the devil himself got a bad case of Montezuma's revenge directly onto this woman's claw. I've never been more thankful for that nurse revealing her peppermint oil secret. I slathered my mustache with that shit and busted out my alcohol wipes and scrubbed literal chunk of grime off this beastly appendage. Whipped out a world record speed tattoo and sent her on her way. My co-workers and I pray every day that we never see her again. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Write in the comments below the video if you have similar stories. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to not miss new super interesting videos, as well as I suggest you watch our other videos.